can't enlarge, right?
What is it?
Okay, then talk later.
Yeah. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Shruti Smriti Puranam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badaraya Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vante Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Sadashiva Samarabham Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara Vande Guru Parampara Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudiraye. Gurudev. So we stopped at this yesterday. And just recap a little bit before we go to the next shloka. Krishna then went on to say that the food itself is born from rain. If there were no rains, there would be no food. The entire earth would be a desert and sand would be the only food. The rain, in turn, Krishna said, is born of yajna, your daily prayers, acknowledging the blessings of the devatas. It is true that if you do not perform yajna, rain still comes, but it may not come at the right time or in the right quantities. Later, Krishna said that rain always does its job, and unless you are offering daily prayers, you are not doing yours. It is not uncommon for a person to think that since everyone else is doing it, he or she need not do it, like in chorus singing. If one person does not sing at a given time, nothing is lost because most of the others are singing. Even if one person commits a mistake, it goes undetected because the others are not making the same mistake. Only if everyone were to commit the same mistake at the same time would it become evident. Therefore, chorus chanting always sounds perfect even though individually there may be problems. Here too, some people offer their prayers and the rain is enjoyed by everyone. However, Krishna likened one who does not do it to a thief. It is not that the rain will not do its job. It is the recognition of the cosmic forces as Ishvara that is important here. When you perform yajna, as when you do your duties, your prayers, and so on, then the devatas bless you. For example, the sun has always been said to produce the rain since it evaporates ocean water, which then forms into clouds. And when you do your daily devata yajnas, as all the accrued adrishta, unseen results, go to the appropriate deity, the sun here. Then from the sun, the rains come. This is another way of saying that you invoke the forces and the forces bless you. The rains come at the right time, to the right place, in the right amounts. The unseen result, adrishta, is what is meant by yajna here. A prayer does not produce a tangible result immediately. It produces an unseen result, which in turn produces the tangible result later. Without karma, you can produce neither seen nor unseen results. We know that the seen result of boiled water cannot be produced without the action of heating the water. Similarly, an unseen result is one that is produced by the action of prayer. This action is what keeps the natural forces, the cosmic ecology going. When it is said here that yajna is born out of karma, yajna is not referring to a ritual because a ritual itself is a karma. To clarify this point, Shankara said in his commentary to this verse that yajna is adrishta, the unseen result. The adrishta is born out of karma and is what produces the result. Only in this way, then, can it be said that yajna is born of karma. And where do the karmas, the rituals, and so on come from? Answering this, Krishna continued, Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagne pratishtitam. Karma, ritual, brahmodbhavam, born of the Veda, Brahma, the Veda, Akshara samudbhavam, born of the imperishable Ishvara, the Lord, Vidhi, may you understand, Tasmat, therefore, Sarvagatam, all pervasive, Brahma, the Veda, Nityam, always, Yagne, in Yajna, Pratishtitam, abides. May you understand karma, ritual, prayer, etc., to be born of the Veda, and the Veda to be born of the imperishable Ishvara. Therefore, the all-pervasive Brahma, that is the Veda, abides always in Yajna. By karma, Krishna was referring here to the Vedic rituals, Vaidika karma. These rituals, yajnas, are to be understood as coming from the Veda itself, called Brahma in this verse. Although Brahma or Brahmaji is also the name given to the creator in the Trinity, here it refers to the Veda as the cause for karma. Brahma is the Veda that reveals the nature of the karma and therefore becomes its cause. One would not know of the rituals otherwise. Thus, it is said that karma is born of the Veda. And how do we know that the Brahma is Veda and not the absolute Parabrahma, Brahman, the ultimate truth. The verse says that Brahma is born of Akshara, the imperishable, that which never dies, which is never born. Therefore, Brahma cannot be this absolute Brahman. That Brahma means Veda is confirmed by any Sanskrit dictionary. The Veda comes from that imperishable Brahman. It is also said that the Veda is born as effortlessly as breathing. The Veda is something that reveals the four human pursuits: Purushartha, security, Artha, pleasure, security, Artha, pleasure, Kama, righteousness, Dharma, and liberation, Moksha. Because it reveals everything that a person requires, the Veda is considered to be omniscient, Sarvagnya. Knowledge is not created, it is uncovered. The Veda is said to be revealed by Ishvara because knowledge cannot be created. Knowledge always is, but it is covered by ignorance. If knowledge were created, the place of creation could only be one of ignorance or no ignorance. If knowledge is created on ignorance, does the ignorance remain? Can knowledge be created on a foundation of ignorance? Or in the wake of knowledge, does ignorance go? And what is this knowledge that is created? If you discover something, is it something that is already there? Or do you create something and then discover it? To create something, you must know it already. You do not create knowledge. Knowledge is already there because it is knowledge of a fact. There is a certain reality, a fact, and the knowledge of it is as true as the reality, as true as the particular fact. Therefore, knowledge is nothing but realization of facts. This means that knowledge is always of what is possible, and so on. Everything is only what is. The future is also what is. The future as a possibility is. This what is what we call knowledge. The Veda is called Sarvagatam Brahma here because it reveals everything. Sarvartha Prakashakatvat Brahma. Veda is equal to Veda Sarvagatam. For Ishvara, all knowledge is always there. In fact, all knowledge is what is meant by Ishvara, the Lord Omniscience. If all knowledge is there, is Ishvara a conscious or an unconscious being? A being is always conscious. An unconscious being is not a being at all. That Ishvara, whose being is consciousness, has omniscience, and this omniscience exists ultimately in the consciousness. The jiva, the individual who is related to Ishvara, is also a conscious being. And what is the nature of that conscious being, the individual? Is conscious an adjective to being, or is being consciousness? Is there a being other than consciousness? If so, what is that being? How do you recognize it? What am I not all-knowing? Sorry, why am I not all-knowing? The being is consciousness. Consciousness is being. Therefore, all knowledge exists in the conscious being, in the being that is consciousness. This being the case, why do I not have it? Because of ignorance alone. Ignorance covers the knowledge. Thus, whenever any knowledge is gathered, It is simply a matter of scraping off ignorance. We are just so many scrapers, scraping through all the time. Scraping off ignorance is what we call getting knowledge. And with reference to knowledge of the empirical world, we do not scrape very well. One can scrape well only with reference to Atma. Everything else remains either unscraped or a little scraped. It is as though you see some spots on something and then, scraping away at them, you gain a scrap of knowledge. A thesis may be written on one of these spots for which the person receives a PhD degree. Then afterwards, someone else comes along and again covers up what was scraped off by proving that the previous person did not really scrape at all. With this person also gets a PhD. This scraping process can continue only because there is no bottom line, no last word in any empirical field. Only in the self is a total scraping possible because you are talking about the whole that has no parts. Any part always has further parts, which have further parts ad infinitum. This is the nature of empirical reality. Whereas Atma is the partless whole. Thus, a total scraping is possible with reference to oneself, the Atma. All this, of course, is, by the way, given the focus of our present discussion. The conscious being has all knowledge, and this knowledge is covered by ignorance, ajnana. Because of this ajnana, people are samsaris, limited beings given to various problems. Nevertheless, knowledge is always there. It was never created. Ignorance also is not created. All that is created is error, opinion, belief, unreasonable statements, any speculative form of knowledge, and so on. For example, sitting in an easy chair, one can continue to write about God. Error, of course, is not created deliberately, but it is born of a given intellect with all its limitations, whereas knowledge is never born, never created. Thus, the Veda is a body of knowledge that is not attributed to a given author. There is no founder. It is not historical, and therefore we accept it as revealed. There is a Veda as history argument propounded by some, but according to the tradition, it is not valid because for something to have its basis in history, it has to have been born of a certain intellect. And whatever is born of a given intellect has all the limitations of that intellect. Knowledge is not born of a given intellect. It is something that is uncovered and handed over. All we can say about the Veda is that it is a body of knowledge that is revealed. As a means for one to gain the knowledge as a pramana, it works. Its very words are the pramana, shabda pramana. A pramana can produce two types of knowledge, indirect or mediate knowledge, paroksha jnana, and direct or immediate knowledge, aparoksha jnana, depending upon the subject matter to be known. If the pramana talks about a heaven, the knowledge is purely indirect knowledge. When you have faith, shraddha in the pramana, the knowledge is indirect. Otherwise, you simply accept what is said, which is only a belief, not knowledge. So
It's
only
not
when,
clear. It's not
yeah,
clear still. Can you read that? The
yeah,
pramana, confusing it is.
yeah, I will read this once again. A pramana can produce two types of knowledge, indirect or immediate knowledge, that is paroksha jnana, and direct or immediate knowledge, aparoksha jnana, depending upon the subject matter to be known. If the pramana talks about a heaven, the knowledge is purely indirect knowledge. When you have faith, shraddha in the pramana, the knowledge is indirect. Otherwise, you simply accept what is said, which is only a belief, not knowledge.
This is
And
because
so that
no one has seen the heaven, right? So it is
Correct.
indirect. Unless you have faith or shraddha, you won't believe in it.
That is true. So here the distinction is between paroksha jnana, which is indirect knowledge, and just a belief.
pramana is
Pramana is a
English.
means of knowledge.
Huh?
Pramana is a means of knowledge.
Or the proof of knowledge.
Correct. Proof or means of knowledge. So the previous few paras talked about how in empirical knowledge, see, knowledge is what is. Like if there is an example of knowledge, therefore, is not created. If you, for instance, you take a pot, you say the pot is. Suppose you break the pot, then you say mud is or clay is. You break that also. You go on dividing it, subdividing it. You'll say atoms is, then electrons is. And now with particulate physics, you say wavelength is. So that isness does not disappear at all. That isness is what is knowledge. That is the omniscience. That is something that is always there. Satya, that truth is knowledge. So knowledge is not created. What is created is only the error. Like for instance, the snake is, the rope is. The error is that you see the snake on the rope. That is a whole human error. That is why we do not know that we are Sarvagnya. We are knowledge, we are Brahma. That is what we do not know. And that is where the Veda steps in as a pramana. And how do we know Veda is a pramana? Veda has come from Brahma because Veda is no author. It is not born of the intellect. It is revealed. It's revealed as that is what he says. It is not attributed to any author. It is a revealed. We accept it as revealed.
Sabda Pramana is it?
Shabda Pramana.
Yeah. So basically, we have to, that's where the Veda is the means of knowledge. Right? That's.
Yeah.
Mm.
And he
So
says
we are
somewhere.
Not means, it is knowledge.
Yes,
Veda is knowledge, not
Veda
means.
is knowledge. Yeah. No.
Veda is not I mean, it's, I wouldn't
Knowledge.
say, yeah, means of knowledge. It kind of gives you that, again,
See,
so
Brahma
that's
is
where
knowledge.
this Paroksha Jnana, Aparoksha Jnana is coming in, right? So Paroksha Jnana is that about the heaven, and we just have to believe that something is there like that. But then Aparoksha Jnana is the direct jnana.
Direct
That means,
knowledge.
yeah,
Direct
that is,
knowledge of what you are. That is it.
yeah.
And there was one of the paragraphs, it in the beginning, it differentiated Brahma, Brahman.
Brahman is Brahma, correct. So the whole shloka is about what? I'll just go back to the shloka. Is Karma Brahmodbhavam Vidhi Brahmakshara Samudbhavam Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma Nityam Yajne Pratishtitam. So here it is the Pratipada, the meaning is, may you understand karma, that is ritual prayer, to be born of the Veda, and the Veda to be born of the imperishable Ishvara. Therefore, the all-pervasive Brahma, that is Veda, abides always in Yajna. So here, the meaning of Brahma is nothing but the Veda. It is not Brahman. It is not Ishvara. So from Ishvara or Brahman, Veda is born. This Veda is Brahma, not Brahman. So this Veda or Brahma is what gives us all the details of what karma to be done, what rituals to be done. So therefore, see, if I read this again, by karma, Krishna was referring here to the Vedic rituals, Vaidika karma. These rituals, yajnas, are to be understood as coming from the Veda itself, called Brahma in this verse. Although Brahma or Brahmaji is also the name given to the creator in the Trinity, here it refers to the Veda as the cause for karma.
Here,
Yeah.
yajna, we can understand it as a adrashta phala.
No, this is a ritual, right? They are talking about ritual here.
Verb. Yajna as a verb.
Yajna
Yeah,
here is
because-
as a verb. Yeah.
Therefore, the all-pervasive Brahma abides always in yajna.
Mm.
So the ritual is
Yes.
you are performing as a karma. That's what it refers to the Veda as the cause for karma.
Veda is a cause of karma because it tells us to do rituals, is it?
Correct.
That's how. Okay.
Yeah.
That is how, isn't it?
Okay. Mm.
So the
Otherwise,
Brahma or Brahmaji, although Brahma or Brahmaji is called, it's a name given to the Creator in the Trinity. Okay, so that is just differentiated. It's nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
With the Veda.
Mm. In this verse, see, that is why I think we cannot isolate a verse and say this is how it is. It is to be understood in the context. In so many of the verses elsewhere in the Gita,
Yeah, that's true.
Atma is actually the mind. We have to understand it in that particular context. So similarly here in this context, Brahma is not
Not
Brahmaji,
Brahmaji.
the creator, is the Veda.
Yeah,
Refers to the
Veda.
Veda. And in order for us to take this as knowledge, as paroksha jnana, as indirect knowledge, that element of shraddha is important. Otherwise, it will only remain a belief.
You mind, please read this next paragraph? Yeah, Brahma is the Veda.
Brahma is the Veda that reveals the nature of karma and therefore becomes its cause. One would not know of the rituals otherwise. Thus, it is said that karma is born of the Veda. And how do we know that the Brahma is Veda and not the absolute Parabrahma, Brahman, the ultimate truth? The verse says that Brahma is born of Akshara, the imperishable, that which never dies, which is never born. Therefore, Brahma cannot be this absolute Brahman. See, if Brahma is born of Akshara, that is, let me go back to the verse again. Karma Brahmodbhavam. Karma is born of Brahma. This Brahma is Veda, Vidhi. No. Brahmakshara Samudbhavam. Brahma is born of Akshara. This Akshara is what is the imperishable one. Imperishable here would mean Brahman, the absolute Brahman. So this Brahma, which is the Veda, is therefore born out of the imperishable
Ishvara. Ishvara,
Ishvara.
not the Brahman.
Not Ishvara, Brahman is the same here, no?
No, Ishvara is along with the Maya. Ishvara is born out of Brahman.
But it's also part of Brahman.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is part of Brahman, but with
Yeah.
the Maya. That's why the Veda has come from Ishvara.
See, Akshara Samudbhavam, born of the imperishable Ishvara, the Lord. Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma. Therefore, Brahma is Sarvagatam, is everywhere. Nityam Yagne Pratishthit.
In
Brahma
here,
is,
I think it's a Brahman, but it's because imperishable comes to Brahman. Here you're reading this part paragraph,
yeah,
right?
so the next stand, this one talks of this. No, the Veda comes from that imperishable Brahman. It is also said that the Veda is born as effortlessly as breathing. The Veda is something that reveals the
born.
4 human pursuits.
Brahma cannot be absolute Brahman. Yeah.
So basically, the hierarchy is Brahman. From Brahman, you have the Brahma or the Veda. From the Veda, karma and all the rituals. And
Yeah.
therefore,
Yeah. The next paragraph explains that also, right? The
Yeah.
Veda comes from the imperishable Brahman. It is also said that. Yes.
and the Veda is something that reveals all the 4 pursuits.
Mm.
Because it reveals everything that a person requires, the Veda is considered to be omniscient, Sarvagnya.
Why it cannot be said directly Brahman only?
So here, the next paragraph where you're reading,
Veda
is it-
itself is Brahman, ultimately.
I didn't get that. I'm sorry.
The Veda comes from imperishable Brahman, okay. Ultimately, it is same.
It is same, but it is in the Maya.
Oh,
It is part of Maya. Veda is part of Maya. Whereas Brahman,
is Brahman.
it is in Brahman, but Veda is with Maya. That's why it is called That's why it is said it is come from Ishvara. If you have seen, even in the meaning part, it said Ishvara.
Hmm.
See, the Veda, as I don't know whether we can liken the Veda to a GPS.
What?
The destination is Brahman. Veda is only like is a pramana. It shows us the way.
It gives the knowledge.
It gives us knowledge, both
Hmm.
direct and indirect.
But knowledge itself is Brahman. No? So, okay. Okay. We can say that.
Knowledge is not created, it is uncovered. The Veda is said to be revealed by Ishvara because knowledge cannot be created. Yeah, in a way, you cannot differentiate. It's wrong maybe to say Veda is like GPS. It is the destination, it is everything. It is not created. It is only revealed. It is always there. Knowledge always is, but it is covered by ignorance. If knowledge were created, the place of creation could only be one of ignorance or no ignorance. If knowledge is created on ignorance, does the ignorance remain? Can knowledge be created on a foundation of ignorance? Or in the wake of knowledge, does ignorance go? So these are,
Yeah,
introspective.
This is
No?
about the Atma, right? Like the same, that function of the ignorance, the veil of ignorance covering the
Correct.
knowledge. Yeah. So we can go further and see.
And what is this knowledge that is created? If you discover something, is it something that is already there? Or do you create something and then discover it? You do not
It's not
create knowledge.
created. Yeah. You're not.
This means that knowledge is always of what is possible, and so on. Everything is only what is. The future is also what is. The future as a possibility is. It is that isness that is knowledge. That isness you can never destroy. No, that is always there. So
So
this
it is
what
there,
is
all three past,
kalas.
present, and future, right? So it's there always. So
Always.
that's the Sarvagata, so
Sarvagata, Sarvagnya.
Sarvajna, right?
This what is what we call knowledge.
Here that Brahma is Trinity there.
Yeah,
Sarvagatam.
part of Trinity. Brahma is part of Trinity, like the Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma, like
With
that's
Maya.
what.
With Maya.
Refer as Brahma is Veda, that is
Yeah,
not
in this one, they're noting Brahma's Veda, but you're talking about Brahmaji, right, Mr. Sorry, Sureshji?
Yeah. See, there is so confusion there.
No,
Ishvara
let's
is
finish
there,
reading
Brahma is
this
there.
two more paragraph, and then let's
Yeah,
see
I think we'll
what
get
we
some
can
clarity.
conclude.
We continue to
Yeah,
read.
Now that
let's
Sarvagatam Brahma means what?
that is
He's
Brahma.
not the creator Brahma.
No, Sarvagata.
This Brahma is given name to Vedas.
Knowledge.
For now, let's read the whole thing and then we'll figure it.
Yeah, I think that is the better thing. As we keep reading, we'll maybe the clarity will dawn. So we done.
Ignorance will go.
Ignorance will slowly go. Yeah. Because we are trying to understand our ignorance. That is why the scraping is so beautiful, the way Swamiji has explained. Scraping of ignorance is what we call getting knowledge. And with reference to knowledge of the empirical world, that is of the outside material world, we do not, we can only scrape. But complete scraping is possible only with the self.
Individual Atma.
Yeah.
And I think this scraping can be applied to all the religions, if you have seen, because each one says it in different ways, and they feel, yeah, that is the truth. And the other religions come and they said this was wrong and I am right.
Because the scraping is not at all complete.
Did we read that about those two paragraphs, the little ones? I'm sorry that I missed it.
Which
the one on top, before this page. Yeah. From here.
An individual.
Yeah.
For Ishvara, all knowledge is always there. In fact, all knowledge is what is meant by Ishvara, the Lord, omniscience. If all knowledge is there, is Ishvara conscious or an unconscious being? A being is always conscious. An unconscious being is not a being at all. That Ishvara, whose being is consciousness, has omniscience, and this omniscience exists ultimately in the consciousness. Omniscience is something that is always there. And therefore, because Ishvara is consciousness, he is always there. It exists in the consciousness. The jiva, the individual who's related to Ishvara, is also a conscious being. And what is the nature of that conscious being, the individual? Is conscious an adjective to being, or is being consciousness? Is there a being other than consciousness? If so, what is that being? How do you recognize it?
He put that question so many ways about this conscious, right? So
Right.
basically, yeah, the pure consciousness is Ishvara, and then that conscious is being consciousness, and then is there a being other than consciousness? And what is that being? How do you recognize it? So that's what the next one is.
Yeah.
Now,
Why
where
does
they have defined Ishvara, they have forgotten now where it
you know,
is.
Sureshji, I think for time being, we, at least this Ishvara thing is not strictly with Maya, at least in my opinion. I'm not sure. That's why we should read the whole thing, because they apply these terms interchangeably. So it's not like all they say it clearly like that. But here, the way they're describing it, to me, it sounds like Brahman, that all-knowing Brahman. So that, because in consciousness, and when you say talk about consciousness, that's pretty much about Brahman. Maya, Ishvara is only, he controls the things, right? I mean, like he sustains and controls and then destroying it. That's how that function is there. But then when it comes to the knowledge, it's always the supreme being. That's only one consciousness, that pure consciousness.
That is Brahman.
That's Brahman. Yeah. That's when, I want to see whether we read the whole thing, because they're not talking about the functioning Ishvara, that we are talking about more of about I feel that is what it feels like it.
Also, I think the import of this sloka is that we understand that
Yeah.
because the hierarchy is from Brahman, the Brahma or Veda is born, and from Veda, karma is born, which is all the Vaidika karma, the rituals and prayers and all that. And therefore, the whole import of this shloka is to say that because of this hierarchy, there is the Veda permeates in, in
That
and through
knowledge.
yajna.
Yeah.
Brahma permeates through in and through yajna. So Brahman is nothing but yajna. So that shloka in the chapter 4, I think 24,
Yeah,
Brahma,
Brahma
that makes it more meaningful. So we understand that everything, all the karma that we do, that is Vaidika karma, that is according to the Vedas, everything is Brahman is permeating through in and through each of
right.
that.
So this Brahman per se, he's not doer, like he's not doing anything. That's how they describe, like this pure consciousness, right? So when we come to Ishvara, then it seems like to me, there's so much of that function that's going on.
Maybe for the time being, we should not confuse so much between Ishvara and make a differentiation between Ishvara
Right,
and
exactly. So to me, like we are talking about
purpose.
knowledge mostly, then whenever knowledge comes, that goes to the Brahman, supreme being. That's only consciousness that we are talking about.
See, like the dreamer, the dreamer pervades in and through the dream. Similarly, Brahman pervades in and through the karma that we're doing. So every yajna that we do, that is Vaidika karma. So when we talk of karma here, it does not mean all karma. It means that is Shastra Vihita karma. That is which is ordained by the Shastra, by the Veda. All that
That
Brahman.
yajna is Brahma, right?
Mm,
Okay.
that is the whole import. And it is said also that the Veda reveals all the four Purusharthas. So it is not just, spiritual thing that we do is related to Brahman. All the four Purusharthas, Artha, Kama, Dharma, and Moksha, all of them he pervades in and through. Yeah, so can I go on with this? I think we finished this part, no? So only in
Yeah.
the self is a total scraping possible, because you are talking about the whole that has no parts. So the nature of empirical reality versus nature of absolute reality is what is being differentiated here, because Atma is a whole. The moment you the knowledge of Atma is revealed, you get a whole revelation. It's not a part scraping, like what happens with reference to rest of the world. So all that is created is just an error, but it is, yeah, let me go forward. So we stop here at this, no? Pramana can produce two types of knowledge, Paruksha and Aparoksha. If the Pramana talks about heaven, the knowledge is purely indirect knowledge. When you have faith, Shraddha in the Pramana, the knowledge is indirect. Otherwise, you simply accept what is said, which is only a belief, not knowledge. Proving the Pramana, if it works, it works. Similarly, when the Pramana says that there are Devatas, it is indirect knowledge. For instance, when the Veda talks about a ritual that invokes a particular Devata that will produce a certain result, the knowledge is indirect. When you perform the ritual and it produces the expected result, you understand that it has been verified that it works. Homeopathy and ancient systems of medicine that have not been scientifically validated are other examples of indirect knowledge. In other words, the only proof that something works is that it works. If you remember that example of that blind person who the surgeon operates upon and who wants proof that he can see, the only proof
Basically about the
by,
Shraddha, right?
yeah, is by opening his eyes and seeing. It's like it's like him asking the doctor, you prove that I will be able to see, then I will open my eyes.
Right.
So unless he opens, and therefore the only proof that something works is that it works. For that you have to do it, you have to follow it. All we know about the rituals enjoined by the Veda is that they work, for which there is statistical proof. This applies to all scriptures in the world. This prayer may work or that prayer may work. You can dismiss an African tribesman as a heathen, but when he dances for rain, the rains, I'm told, often come. I don't know what heathen is. Therefore, we say that his rituals work. God understands his mumbo jumbo as well as he understands ours. In fact, for God, there is no such thing as mumbo jumbo. For him, everything is meaningful. Even if you blabber, he picks up your intention. How sweet. So it is not
Oh, it's
what,
so funny. How he
what
says that mumbo jumbo. Mm.
yeah, it applies to all the scriptures in the world.
Mm.
So if an African tribesman is doing some uh, dance for the rain, it rains. And just like how there are some ragas in Hindustani music where you sing and it rains. So it is I think it is the intention that is important, attitude that is important. It is not what exactly you do, it is the intention. The Veda, however, when it talks about what is, does not lend itself to speculation. It talks about you, the self, I, which is already an evident being. If there is confusion about that being, the resolution of that confusion is immediate knowledge, direct knowledge. Because this knowledge is direct knowledge, there is no comparison possible between what the Veda says and what any other revealed body of knowledge says, unless, of course, they are both saying the same thing. If both revealed bodies of knowledge have the self as a subject matter and are saying that the self is the whole, then they are saying the same thing. This knowledge, the knowledge about the reality of the self, does not belong to any territory and is what we call Vedanta. So with respect to the indirect knowledge, it applies to all scriptures of the world. But whereas for the direct knowledge of the self, of the Atma, unless the other scripture also, or the other means of knowledge are also talking of the self alone, then unless it is this, they're both talking, they're equal. Otherwise, there is no comparison. That is what he's saying. The strength of the Veda. In the vision of the Veda, the self is the whole and there is nothing beyond it. In fact, if this fact is recognizable, then it is not unreasonable. Because it is reasonable, everything contrary to it becomes unreasonable. That the self is self-evident and is the whole cannot be denied or negated, whereas everything else can be. Therefore, any scripture that makes this statement of fact, regardless of the language it is written in, or the people who claim it as their own, is Vedanta. So Vedanta is a very broad, term that includes any body of knowledge, any body of scripture that talks about the self. This knowledge, this Veda, is born of Ishvara alone. It is not founded, nor does it have a historical basis. Therefore, it does not have in it the problems of a given intellect. It is simply handed over from one generation to the next. That it has no beginning, no history, that it was not born of a given intellect, should not be considered its weakness. It is in fact its strength. Another important point is that the Veda does not belong to anyone. No individual or culture can claim it. It is simply a body of knowledge belonging to humanity at large. This knowledge is here in the world for all people. The fact that it is maintained in a particular geographical area does not mean that it does not belong to humanity. To think otherwise leads to the notion that the knowledge has been given to a particular person and therefore all wisdom comes through that person. Such notions generate all sorts of expectations and disappointments, the results of which are evident everywhere. Krishna said that the Veda comes from the imperishable, the Lord Ishvara. Because it is born of Parameshvara, the Lord, the Veda is said to abide in the Yajna. How is this so? The ultimate cause, Brahman, is all pervasive and also imperishable. From this Brahman alone, the ultimate cause of everything, comes Brahma, the Veda. And from the Veda comes the Yajna, as well as its result. From the result alone comes the rain. And from the rain comes the food. From the food come all living beings. The beings do Yajna, and out of Yajna come the rains and all other results, which in turn lead to more karma. This then is the cycle, the chakra. Brahman is all pervasive because it is both the efficient and material cause. And no effect can be away from its cause. Out of this all pervasive Brahman, the Veda is born, and the cycle described above is set in motion. In this way, everything is born out of Param Brahma. Thus, it is said that Brahman is in the Yajna, Yajna being born from the Veda, and the Veda being born directly from Parameshwara, the Lord. Or, as Shankara puts it, being born of the Veda, Yajna is non-separate from the Veda and thus very much in it. And the Veda is non-separate from Ishvara. Therefore, when you perform the Yajna, you are naturally in tune with Parameshwara. You also are not away from the Lord. The Yajna is looked upon as being immediately connected with Parameshwara. Its words are a revelation of Ishvara, and by performing this Yajna, which is a karma, you are propitiating the Devatas that are Parameshwara. And what happens if you do not perform such karma? The link is so beautifully given in the last two paras, right? So I think for us, if we understand that for now, it is fine. Let us not get too caught up with the words and the terms that are given. So,
Yeah, very nice. That's one. So this particular sloka saying basically the Veda came from Veda is coming from Parameshwara, and then the how do we relate this? The yajna.
Veda is in yajna.
Yeah. So we are doing karma, performing the yajna. That's what the karma. Yeah, karma was born from the karma
Yajna.
of yajna. No, karma is
Brahma. Brahma is
originated
yajna.
Veda. Veda arises from the imperishable being, which is Sarvagatam, all comprehending. So, so the Veda is established in the sacrifice.
see, basically, because
That's the yajna, right? So therefore the Veda is established in the yajna. That's what that.
see, because Brahman is both the efficient and the material cause, the effect cannot be away from its cause. That is fundamental.
Yeah.
From this all-pervasive Brahman, when it's all-pervasive, you cannot say yajna is separate from Brahman or karma is separate from Brahman. Or
No,
the
it's
result
not
is separate.
separate, but it is the way this sloka says, right? Brahmo.
Yeah.
So it was born of from there, like that. It's how what it means basically. Okay, I get it. Okay, so you're saying it's not separate from the Veda, and Veda is not separate from Ishvara.
Yeah.
They're all one.
Yajna is non-separate from Veda because it is born of the Veda and thus very much in it. And Veda is non-separate from Ishvara. And then, therefore, when you perform the Yajna, you are naturally in tune with Parameshwara.
Okay.
You are also not away from the Lord. The Yajna is looked upon as being immediately connected with Parameshwara. Its words are a revelation of Ishvara, and by performing this Yajna, which is a karma, you are propitiating the Devatas that are Parameshwara. And what happens if you do not perform such karma? Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha Aghayurindriya Ramo Mogham Partha Sajivati. Partha, O Partha, Yaha, the one who, here in this life, Evam, in this manner, Pravartitam, already set in motion, Chakram, the cosmic wheel, Na Anuvartayati, does not follow, Aghayuhu, one who lives in sin, Indriya Ramaha, one who is given to sensory pleasures, Saha, that person, Mogham, wastefully, Jivati, lives. A person who does not live here in this life according to the cosmic wheel that is already set in motion in this manner and lives in sin, given only to the pleasures of the senses, lives wastefully. If you perform yajna, the devatas are all pleased, and you work in harmony according to the order referred to here as the cosmic wheel, chakra. There is a mutual benefit here that is inherent in the order that is already set in motion. The whole universe, the whole planetary system operates by mutual attraction. Every planet, the sun, the moon, and the earth move in their respective orbits because of the force of attraction that keeps the whole system going. Otherwise, it would collapse. When you look into any nucleus, you find that the motion of the particles operates in the same way. Similarly, certain proteins attract certain other proteins. Structurally, they are all attracted to each other. Certain bugs attack only certain things, all because of protein structures. In this way, the entire cosmos is nothing but a force of attraction operating in a most intelligent manner. Living beings who are not mere physical entities are conscious beings mutually related to the devatas. Since this is how the order is set up, you recognize them, acknowledge them. The chakra spoken of here is much more than a cosmic wheel. It not only includes the physical world, it includes everything. This chakra, this order, is set up as it is by Ishvara, the efficient and material cause of it all. So basically, what we are supposed to do is just fall in sync with this cosmic order. If instead of that, we are following, if you're not doing what is ordained, then we will be refuting it, number one, and then it will be living a life wastefully,
Out of sync.
out of sync.
So
So
what
means
is talking about this chakra that it's kind of going again and again? Is that what it was?
See, the chakra, earlier we read, no? The chakra was
Mm.
what?
Then in the sloka itself, what is they talking about? Chakram
Because
Nanu.
it is born of Parameshvara, the Lord, the Veda is said to abide in the yajna. The ultimate cause, Brahman, is all pervasive and also imperishable. From this Brahman alone, the ultimate cause of everything, comes Brahma, the Veda. From the Veda comes the yajna as well as its result. From the result alone comes the rain. And from the rain comes the food. From the food come all
that.
living.
Okay.
This Anna Bhavanti Bhutani Parjanyad Anna Sambhavaha. Yajnat Bhavati Parjanyo Yajna Karma Samudra. The previous shloka, the one before this. So the beings do
Oh,
yajna.
the other one. Oh, okay.
And out of
The
yajna come the
14th
rain.
one, Yajna Sistina.
Not
Which
yajna.
one is? Okay.
It is, let me check.
Okay.
यज्ञात भवति पर्जन्या पर्जन्यात भवति अन्ना ऐसे है वो कुछ
Yajnat Bhavati Parjanyo Parjanyad Anna Samudbhavam. Let me check. This is, yeah, Yajna Annad Bhavanti Bhutani Parjanyad Anna Sambhavaha Yajnat Bhavati Parjanyo Yajna Karma Samudbhavaha. And then we had this Yajnat, Yasmat no. Evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayati hayah aghayurindriya ramo mogam partha sajivati. There's one more before that. Yeah, sorry. So annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavaha yajnad bhavati parjanyo yajnah karma samudbhavaha karma brahmodbhavam viddhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam. Then evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayati hayah aghayurindriya ramo mogam partha sajivati. So this cycle is that
Okay.
you can start this cycle from anywhere, either from Brahman, then the Veda, then from the Veda is the Yajna. From the Yajna, you get the rain. From the rain, you get food. From food, you get all the living beings.
Beings,
The
yeah, and
living
then
beings
beings
Yajna.
again
And
do the
yeah,
rain.
out of
Okay.
Yajna again come rain and all the results. This will lead to more karma. So this cycle, this cosmic cycle is therefore set in motion.
Agayurindriya. Okay, got it. That 16 sloka is, so if you don't do any of this, that you only please your senses, then wasteful life.
So what we do, even the pranayama is also in yajna.
Correct.
From apana to the pana, that in between, that it's called that Sunday, that is yajna. So we do all whatever is what we are doing is in yajna. Means in this cycle we are a cog, and we have to do that duty. That is what it is. And we have to understand what we are, then do follow. So we
You're
are in
talking
yajna.
about the kriya, is that what you're talking about, Surachi?
Means complete, I'm talking about the complete circle. How it works.
And I believe that what is it? Dr. Brahmara, he sent the slokas, right? In that one, he also says like pranaya, swaga, and apana, swaga, like that.
Yeah.
That like a mantra, right? You say that and you do the breathing. Is that what it is?
That is before you eat. Before you eat, you say that mantra and you offer it 6 times. No, you say pranaya swaha, apanaya swaha, vyanaya swaha. It is like you're offering that food to the different pranas, the different manifestations of prana inside of it.
Okay, I got it. When he said the pranayama, I was thinking about those pranas. Okay, thank you.
Seeing beyond the sense organs. Aghayu is a person whose life is nothing but agha, papa, or sin. In this verse, such a person is called Indriya Rama, meaning one who lives only at the level of the sense organs and therefore does not perceive anything beyond the eyes, nose, and ears. The origin of these functionaries is never questioned by such people. The eyes are there and therefore they feast. These are people who are given to sensory pleasures alone. Those who live in this way, who do not follow the chakra, the wheel that is the order, live wastefully, Krishna said here. Everything that is given to these people lays waste. Such people waste their lives and live without any purpose, drifting along without anchor or roots. The depth and understanding that a human being is supposed to have is not there for an Indriya Rama. Whenever there is this kind of criticism in the Gita, its purpose is only to direct your attention to what is to be done. You are to push this wheel, this chakra, knowing that you are a cog in it. Someone who is important is maintaining the order. Do what you have to do. By so doing, it keeps going. To think that by not doing what you have to do, the order will not be disturbed is not proper, as the following story demonstrates. There was once a king who thought that his citizens were all excellent people, but his chief minister, a very intelligent man, could not agree with him. He knew that while by and large they had a good kingdom, there were probably some thieves among them. They simply did not hunt down every last one of them. There are always some petty thieves around, even if they only pick their own pockets for practice. Knowing this, the minister could not concur with the king that every citizen was upright. To prove who was right, the king or himself, the minister erected a huge tank with a ladder to the top. He issued a decree that every citizen was to deposit 1 ounce of milk into this tank. Dutifully, the people all lined up to add their milk to the tank. When they had all done their duty, the minister said to the king, "Let us go and see whether the milk in the tank is pure or whether it is somewhat watered down." What they found was not pure milk, nor even thin milk. Only water was there, without so much as a trace of white in it. The king then asked the minister whether he had asked the people to put milk or water into the tank. The minister confirmed that he had said milk. "But how can this be?" the king asked. The minister then explained to him that each person, thinking that his or her water would make no difference in so much milk, opted not to give any milk at all. This shows that if you think that you do not need to do what has to be done because everyone else will do it, and if that is the thinking of everyone, everything comes to a halt. And if all but one person does do what is to be done, the one who does not do it, the one who does not do it and who partakes of the benefit becomes a cheat. So this is akin to what we read yesterday about a person
Briefs,
who
yeah.
not do yajna but partakes of the thing. So we are in this world, we are in this beautiful world of creation. So we are part of it. We are a cog in there. So if we are doing what is to be done, if we are taking care of nature, we are taking care of all the 5 elements, we kind of propitiate them, either ritually or even intentionally. The attitude is there that we see Ishvara in each one of them. Then we are part of the cog and we let the cycle of creation move. Instead, if we think, "Oh, I don't need to do anything because anyway it's happening," then you become a cheat. You are like a thief. You're partaking of the results without contributing to it. Ecology always starts with you. This is true in any system, be it a small community, a factory, a society, the world, or the entire universe. The same psychology, the same law applies and is all that ecology is about. Live and let live. And recognize what the contribution is. This is what makes a person sensitive. Such a person is not an ordinary person, and it is here that one's attention is to be drawn. Ecology starts with one person, and that person is you. It never starts with someone else. If you start with yourself, there is no problem. Whenever you count yourself first. Counting yourself first is not selfishness, as we shall see. So when we talk of recycling and protecting the environment, we say, "Oh, the world has to do it." We point fingers at others. But we have to be the first ones. We have to do it ourselves. So be the change you want to see. You have to count yourself. It starts with you. It starts with me.
Ramraji, but when we are contributing with the karma, are we not supporting the Maya system? Or without, whether we do it or not, it's going to stay here. And we just do our part without doing, without taking the doership. Is that so? But because when we are doing karma all the time, I mean, just for the rains or whatever to sustain ourselves, are we not promoting this Maya part?
But we're not just doing that. No, as karma yogis, you're doing that, plus you're pursuing knowledge. See, ultimately, you're not just living like a karmata. You're not just doing karma all the time. You're doing karma with this attitude, therefore you become a karma yogi. That it polishes and it cleanses your antakarana, but you're also pursuing knowledge. We are talking of a karma yogi here, not of a karmata. If you're only a karmata, yes, you will continue the cycle of samsara. You're perpetuating the cycle of Maya. Correct?
Yeah.
We are in Maya, means we have to be first there.
We
Okay?
are there, no choice.
So we have
Maya.
to do that. We are not perpetuating, but we have to be in that, then come out of it. That is moksha.
That is the moksha purushartha. Right.
That is what. But until that, we have to be in this karma.
Is this
We have to
karma
do the-
considered as manasika karma? Is that, you remember when we asked this question to Nanaji, he said that certain karmas, like, that you're doing it for well-being of others, and I mean it's for not just self. There is selflessness and things like that, and also when you I think this.
I think here the karmas are which are advocated by Vedas.
Yeah, so that is called, I remember, I think it says Vaidika karma here, but somewhere he said something about Manasika karma. What is the?
Over here, I don't remember reading Manasika karma.
Not here. You read it as a Vaidika karma here. So
Vaidika
I'm
karma.
just, yeah.
When we talk of karma, it is always Shastra Vihita karma. It's all dharmic. We're not talking of any other karma. So,
yeah, like when we do the chanting and all these things, that is considered as a manasika karma, I think. Anyway, I'm getting confused.
See, when you're doing this, you're actually doing it for the whole creation. You're not doing it for yourself also, isn't it? Because you're taking all this as yajna.
That's true.
That individual gain is not there at all. It is for universal gain. That loka samasta is ingrained in that attitude. You're doing it so that the cycle of creation would continue. Your special vibration, according to Spandakarika, is in sync with the general vibration.
Yeah.
Sync.
Thanks.
Yasvat maratireva syat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. Two, whereas yaha manavaha, the person who Atma Ratihi Eva delights in the self alone, Atma Triptaha Cha, and is satisfied with the self. Atmani Eva, in the self alone, Santushtaha Cha, and is contented, syat would be tasya for him, karyam, work to be done, na vidyate, does not exist. Whereas for the person who would delight in the self, who is satisfied with the self, contented in the self alone, there is nothing to be done. If karma has to be done in order to keep the cosmic wheel going, does everyone have to perform it? And since some people do gain moksha, does this mean that karma becomes the way to moksha after all? And jnana, knowledge, has nothing to do with it? Krishna had said already that karma yoga does not produce moksha directly. Therefore, he had to address this doubt here. If karma were the means for moksha, then everyone would have to do karma only as a yoga. But karma yoga is not the means for moksha, let alone the only means. It is the means for antakarana shuddhi, purification of the mind. Jnana is the only means for moksha, meaning that there is no kartritva. There is no kartavya, sorry. There is nothing that has to be done. If knowledge is the means for moksha and the person gains that knowledge, then there is nothing else for him or her to do. There is no kartavya because the person is not bound by any karma. Knowledge having destroyed the doer. Without the doer, no action is done. Knowledge destroys doership completely. If someone is addressed as a doer, who is it that responds? Only a person who takes himself or herself to be a doer. The one who is not a doer is not addressed at all and therefore, of course, does not respond. Whereas in the present verse is to distinguish the non-doer from the doer. Shankara calls the non-doer Sankhya here, meaning one who has self-knowledge, a sannyasi. Such a person is the Sthita Prajna, as we saw in chapter 2. For this person, there is no doubt, error, or vagueness with reference to I, the Atma. In order to become happy in oneself with oneself, a person has to become steadfast in the knowledge of Atma. This is not possible for a person who looks upon Atma as a samsari, a limited, sorrowful, sinful person. The moment such a person thinks of himself or herself, he or she is unhappy because Atma is looked upon as a doer, an enjoyer, as one who has limited knowledge, an imperfect person, a sinner, and so on. Because he or she cannot be happy in the Atma, the person has to look towards something else other than the self and must manipulate the world or the mind in order to gain even a small degree of happiness. An enjoyer, bhogi, manipulates the world and a yogi manipulates the mind. This is such a beautiful sentence. A bhogi is one who looks upon the world as something to be enjoyed and who goes about manipulating situations, manipulating the world to create conducive situations wherein he or she can discover a moment of joy. The situation thus created pleases the person, but only for the time being, whereupon the process of manipulation must begin again. A yogi, on the other hand, is one who does not manipulate the world. Such a person is concerned only with his or her thoughts, contending that the pleasurable mental disposition picked up by the bhogi through manipulating the world can be created straight away in the mind. Thus, the yogi goes about manipulating the mind, whereas the bhogi goes about manipulating the world. There is yet another person, the rogi, who is so diseased that he or she cannot manipulate the world, much less the mind. Such a person cannot keep himself or herself in good humor because of the pain of illness, nor is he or she healthy enough to manipulate the world. How sweet. This is such a revealing paragraph, a few paragraphs, right? The difference between a yogi, a bhogi, and a rogi.
Yeah, very
If
nice.
you are, like Bela mentioned beautifully in the chat, Indriya Rama is a bogi, whereas Atma Rama is a yogi. And a rogi is not even an Indriya Rama. He cannot even enjoy the material world because he's so caught up in misery.
Mm,
It is
that's
like
really sad.
Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, the Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga. The more
Mm.
sattva you are, the more Atma Rama you are. You are reveling in the self. Whereas the more Rajasic you are, you're more into the world of enjoyment. Where a person
Rogi
tamas
cannot even enjoy.
yogi.
He
Yeah.
cannot enjoy the senses at all.
Tamasic
Because-
person. He's even so. Come, let's go for a picnic or something. He says, no, I don't want to come because he's so tamasic. He's so inert. He cannot even enjoy the world.
He could be absolutely sick for that to be happening, right? I mean,
Right.
that's a sad part of it. Yeah. Mm.
Ultimately, when you enjoy the world, you lose the, you become rogi actually. Then you're not at all interested and frustrated, you go out of the world.
You know,
Not my moksha.
for people to be ill, and as long as they're mentally strong, if they're only physically ill, they can kind of they can still be cheerful. But if they're really toxic or something else is going on, of course, they're not going to be able to enjoy with that kind of pain, or problem, whatever they're having. Yeah, I mean, there's varying degree of problems that they have to deal with. So that's why remember we talked about Atma, pursuing knowledge, that this is one hindrance when somebody is ill or to the point physical or mental illness, that could be a problem.
Hey Gurudev, earlier Swamiji was mentioning that when an alcohol is enjoying the liquor, who is enjoying the alcohol is enjoying the person, he's not enjoying. Yeah. That's trying to recollect that.
Correct.
Yeah, that is true to all those, all the things that can spoil the mind, right? Like the drugs and alcohol and cigarette smoking, everything else.
See, those are addictive, but there are so many things in our day-to-day life that actually enjoy us. Like he says in the previous pages that we read, food, you utilize food initially to grow physically, but ultimately food uses you, food eats you.
Yeah,
Because
that is
same
true.
food,
Again, yeah, the type of food that we eat that causes addiction also, right? Like that carbohydrate, like more like sugar and fat, food tastes good, so people keep eating. And the more you eat and not doing the activity, then it causes all kinds of problems.
So
Yeah.
we'll stop here for today. What I
Yeah.
just wanted to, kind of talk about is, yes, what Bela says is yuktahara and vihara. The person who is only given to senses is a cheat. He's an aghayu. He's a sinner, so to say, because he is there and he lives his life wastefully. But if the same person has a bit of discrimination and is reveling more within, from Indriya Rama, he turns towards Atma Rama. Instead of looking for changing the situation outside, changing people in order for him to be happy, here all the 5 points of our happiness program come in, where you are not changed for your happiness. You do not want that person to behave in such a manner. However the person is, you save your mind, you accept him the way he or she is, and you are centered within. You are not disturbing the peace and calm that you are. So you're happy with or without all of that. So same thing with the opposite values, if a person around you makes a mistake or does hurt you. So all of that, all those beautiful 5 points come in, and you are more, mm, I wouldn't call a Sthita Prajna yet, but then you're in the process of becoming a Sthita. So the person who rebels, a yogi, is one who handles his mind, whereas a bogi, manipulates the mind. A yogi manipulates the mind. You're more concerned about your thoughts, about your, how you're relating to the world, how you are, um, uh, keeping your inner calm. It is not keeping, it's of course important to keep your outside clean, but keeping your inside clean is so important. The yogi cleans up his inside, whereas the bogi is happily enjoying outside.
Yeah, Bogi manipulates the world and Yogi manipulates the inner
mind.
world.
Correct.
Yeah.
Being centered, that is what it
Yeah.
is called.
Yeah.
Come back, Shanai, Shanai.
Yeah.
Bring it back again and make it centered.
Yogi
Jai
has
Guru,
Shanti and Arjavam. Very right, Pela.
Jai Gurudev, Dr. Brahmana. One aspect I was thinking, the post which was sent by Vijayji, in which one cancer patient was, she was in a terminal stage. She shifted to the Sudarshan Kriya. I was thinking about that how a rogi shifted towards the sattvic, or maybe towards the spiritual path. She shifted and she got cured also. So I think Rogi will shift more towards sattvic rather than rajasic. Some, like in some instances where illness is very grieve and
Yeah. No, you're right in so many ways, because that is what Gurudev also had mentioned. When you're going through a lot of pain, if you can actually go through that, that will be very spiritually elevating for you. It will be like a catapult for you.
yeah, the person would be relieved of his suffering by going on the sattvic path when the person is having some these terminal illnesses or very serious illnesses. But in a way, he or she will have to strive for it very hard. It would not be so easy for that person.
No, need Shraddha.
Yeah.
This is the most important.
Without Shraddha, he
That
or
will
she
not
will not,
happen at all.
he will not shift towards that.
Yes.
Yeah, because I have a friend, she was detected CA breast 4th stage, and but just because she had that Shraddha, she is always in on this, like she's on this path. Initially she was, but now it has become more deeper, and it's like she's fighting and she's having that willpower. Mainly that willpower she has regained, and she's the treatment is going on, but most the thing matter is that the willpower is very strong. That keeps going the person.
See what happens when you have doubt, your focus is shifted on the doubts. When you have Shraddha, you are with that knowledge only. You don't have any doubt. You are with that. Then that uplifts.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are focusing on the doubt. That you have even a minor doubt will make you, your meditation will not be okay. Even a minor doubt.
Yeah.
Therefore, that Shraddha has to be there. That is what I think in Ashtavakra Guruji says, if you have Sandeha means you are attached to the body actually. and Sandeha is doubt. When you are attached to the body, you are not attached to the knowledge. Sandeha. So to shift that, he said, you focus on the breath, and that is prana. And prana is that Chaitanya. So then everything results come out. You know, in that Ashtavaka, there is a, I will let you know once I get it, or I will post it in the very Sandeha has to go. To remove that Sandeha, put your focus not on the body, on the breath, that is Chaitanya, prana. So when you have Sandeha, your prana is down. So increase your prana, means do the pranayama.
Very beautiful.
That's it.
Right. So we'll stop here today. We'll continue tomorrow. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you.
Om
Good day.